this was the Peter Cushing demo I did yesterday. And it's got this thing all the time about the eye. This is an interesting thing now. I'm talking about the relativeness things. So I got this, the nose is too long kind of feeling about it all the time. What in fact was happening was that the socket area there was too high. So it created this point of reference that meant that the nose felt it was too long, which is weird. And I've told you this before, but you can be drawing, say, the curve of the forehead, and it affects the curve of the chin. This is draw everything all at once, and everything relates to everything. That's basically how it works. So sometimes you might be thinking that one thing is wrong, when in fact it was something else that was wrong. And I was saying that yesterday the other part of it is that the structuring of the form with tones can also impact on your assessment of the shapes, which is why it's always difficult if you start with outlines of things, because that depends on your sheer draftsmanship. And obviously, to acquire the level of draftsmanship that means you can accurately outline every portion of that face, it's a long time. It's a long time of practice in doing that one thing. It's a negative thing because really you still have to come back to making the tones work and bleed and relate and give form to those outline shapes that you've done. So why not just go straight to the point? Why not go straight to the tones? Why not go straight to the tone shapes? Why put an outline around it and then color it in? You know what I mean? Anyway, so that's how it turned out. Still bits and bobs I change on it, but it's fine. It's you know what I mean? I don't have any desire, if you know what I mean, to think, I'm going to make it super detailed and whatever. Caught the essence of the man. There you go. That's it. The job done. So this working from black and white images. Now I've never worked from black and white images. I say never loosely. I may have done it once to prove a point. But so I started with using images that were from the telly. So they were just, like I say, low res, out of focus, characterful, images, because there were characters that had meaning, that I connected to them during the story of the drama or the film or whatever, and that also that helps me to draw. That I need to know the person, I need to feel the person. So then in a film or a drama, it helps. Let me move the microphone just in case it improves any. So that was the first thing. So I never worked from black and white images. But then I was, because of the sort of there were three things that there might be more. Let me just unpack it. But first of all, there are three things that, for me, are a problem with black and white. The first one is that the process, unless it's a black and white film, right, continuous tone film and not digital, the process of desaturation is an algorithm that basically decides for you which elements should be removed, if you like, in order to desaturate it. But color creates tone, and color, if it takes color out of the desaturation, color actually, because it can be the tonal structure can be defined by color, not just by the monochrome elements. So taking out the color of something, it can sometimes, and it depends on the algorithm, depends on the software you use and all the rest of it, it can sometimes take out a lot of tones that you would normally see with your eye. So that's the first thing. So you don't want that. You want to be in charge of what should or shouldn't be there in the tones, like on the Peter Cushing one. You want to be in charge of what tonal values you see and what you manipulate. Sometimes you will manipulate the tones in a certain way that's not necessarily correct or accurate to the original, because it's part of your creative process. So that's the first thing. The second thing is that it creates an expectation. It creates this is what it's going to look like when it's drawn, right? When it's a charcoal, it creates a definition of what your drawing should be, and unwittingly you're sort of sucked into because you see some great images in black and white, all sort of contrasting and everything else, and you think, oh, I'm going to draw that because it's suitable for black and white. But just think about that for a second. You have looked and seen an image that is already in black and white, and you're prompted to draw it in black and white, because that is how you see it's going to end up. That's a great black and white image, I'm going to make a black and white copy of that. Do you know what I mean? You're already in that goal expectation zone, which is not good for you, because it sets a definition of what you're going to achieve. If you have problems with not feeling good enough and all the rest of it, it's because you've got these goals and expectations that you should be good enough, or you should be able to do it like this black and white image. I've got to be able to. So you do not want the goals and expectations interfering with your interpretation and response to a subject. And that, I suppose those are the reasons, if you like, whether there's 2 or 3 reasons there, I've no idea, but basically you don't want to be tied to, well, you want as much information you can into the tonality of something. You don't want to be tied to an outcome that's been preset, because that's what it's doing, because that's going to mess with your expectations. And you want the freedom to interpret the thing as you want to interpret it. So you may shift the focus of something to something else. It may not be that the eye is important. It is, obviously, as you can see the tonal structure of this already, but you want the freedom to choose. And as the thing evolves, that's another thing about when you're drawing without expectations or goals, is as the thing evolves, you can stop at any time and decide that, well, that's enough. I don't want to take it to the super detailed stage or whatever. You can decide on that, because the black and white version of this, which you're working from, is telling you, oh, it has to be like, because you're in the copying mode when you see it in black and white. When you're seeing it in color but drawn in black and white, you're not in a copying mode. You're actually interpreting the image into black and white. So it makes things a lot easier not working with black and white images. So yeah, you've seen the image I'm going to draw now. It was just something that I was going to talk about something else, but it was just something I saw somebody do this morning. I thought, yeah, and the outcome was a copy almost of the face, in the same style, almost as the original. Sort of a bit gritty and a bit grainy, because he was doing it in charcoal. And it just dawned on me then. I thought about it. I mean, I've talked about this before in the classes about not working from black and white images, but it was just, I thought, no, I need to help people with that, because it is one of those things that will help you to achieve better, portraits. It's not a practice trick or anything. It's just one of those things that will take away a lot of the issues that you may have with drawing in charcoal. I mean, there are actually people who run courses and tell you how to prepare images to draw in charcoal, and that is all about creating, converting to black and white. It's not a good thing. You don't want to get into that, as I said, but as people do it and profess that that's the right thing to do, but it's not. I mean, it is one of those things where I can safely say it's not me that's telling you this. It is me that's telling you this, but obviously think about it in terms of common sense. It doesn't make sense to eliminate half the tonal values, and then set yourself a goal to actually achieve something that maybe wouldn't be your response. I mean, sometimes, when I do these, and I feel sometimes that my response is I don't know. I mean, obviously there's an issue with the copying thing, the accuracy of the drawing. And I was looking at some sergeants this morning, and somebody had posted it on YouTube on Facebook, and then decided they'd examine his process. I hate it when they do that. No, you don't know. You weren't sat at the side of him when he did it, were you? Just accept it for its greatness, I would say. but one of the things that I do like about Sargent's charcoals is the wrongness. Thick necks, eyes in the wrong place, just head's too small, all that kind of stuff. I like all that. I like the acceptance of wrongness, and the illustration of why it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any difference. Because that's another thing. We get this. I just seen somebody drawing an eye and then chucking it away. Drawing a portrait and then chucking it away because the eye wasn't quite right. The reason why this guy struggles is because he relies on a method type approach, geometry, this, that, and the other. There's some trouble with that. Is when you commit to the geometry of things, you become fixated on the accuracy of your geometry, and there's no fluidity in it. There's no evolution in it. It's just a case of the angles here and the angles there, and and if you don't line up with that, then I've got it in the wrong place. And then the other thing is that committing to tonal values too soon. That's a big thing. That when you commit to it, when you commit to a shape, you commit to a tonal value early on, it will impact on the evolution of your drawing. So you don't want to be committing too soon to the color of the hair or to the position of something. Or you don't want that. You need to have the fluidity and an evolutionary approach to it. A face. I've said this before, and it's another one of the black and white thing is a common sense. This evolutionary approaches are based on common sense. Your portrait is a conversation. Conversations don't start off good from the beginning, do they? You know how many conversations they all sort of. I mean, if it's friends and whatever, you know them already, but most conversations go through a process of evolution. They don't, and that's what this is. Making a portrait is a conversation, and if you look at it like that and allow the conversation to evolve rather than being, nailed down to a specific route, if you like. Now we will talk about this. I mean, you've been in those meetings that have sort of a memorandum of topics, but they're not conversations. That's what they are. So invariably you end up with discussions. You know what I mean? Sometimes healthy, sometimes not. But that's kind of what you're trying to do. Instead of having a conversation, you're trying to discuss this person, their features, their persona. You're trying to discuss that, and it's not as if you were in a meeting with them, as opposed to converse with them as if you were a friend. And that's the difference. So allowing the thing to evolve in the conversational way would address this guy's problems of it doesn't always turn out, he says, and then he throws it away. So that the two things there that are wrong, right? You've always got to love what you do, right? And you have, and I mean, I have misfires because I failed to connect with the subject, and that's the main reason. Not because the eyes are in the wrong place or the tonal values are wrong, or the usual sort of mechanical issues that people would cite as being a problem with a portrait. Not because of that. My decisions regarding it being a misfire or not are invariably to do with just not connecting to the subject. I mean, obviously, I'm doing the usual kind of making comparative alignments and all that sort of stuff, and shape comparisons, and just the normal kind of things you do when you're drawing, you know, looking for distances, looking for alignments. I'm doing all that, but that's just driven by this connection with this particular subject, this persona, which is why it's really important, like I was saying with the TV series stuff. It was really important that I got into the habit of connecting with the subject. You know, the first thing that I invariably do is I give the subject a name. Like this, this is a Pinterest image, but I've never met it. But I'd call her Monica. But that's kind of then it conjures up a connection with the subject. So interestingly, now I'm talking about this interpretation of things, and as opposed to the working from black and white images that are already decided, that the tonality in that area is already specific. It's already been defined. I don't have to fiddle with it or anything. I just have to copy what I see. And that, but this is not black and white. So I've got this opportunity, if you like, to respond in a particular way to the tones of say that area there. No, I'm not tied to what's been defined in a black and white image. And if I choose for it to be as it is now and leave it as it is now, regardless of whether or not there's tonal values, then that's what I'll do. So with the black and white image, it's already telling me it may have already burned out that side of the face. So I have got no choice as to whether to leave it in or out. It's gone. Like I say, it just makes so much sense. I think the biggest problem I see with it, though, is this expectation thing, because you've got this image that's you've already defined as a great black and white image, and it's sitting there and saying, okay, make a copy equal to this. That's what it's saying. That for a lot of people, that's a difficult thing. And that's when the people just turn around and say, oh, it's just practice. You just got to practice doing that. You've got to practice. The reason why it's not like this guy with the eyes, you just got to practice. And I'll put this failure down to practice and all that. You just got to do that. You don't. You're just making it hard. You see, that my thing is, let's not make it hard. Let's not make it hard for ourselves to do this. Let's find the shortest and easiest route to do this. Because this process of doing isn't the primary goal, if you like. We need to connect and respond and transmit to the world how we see this individual. How we do it is a secondary factor. It's just a means to an end. I'm using the shot ball, by the way, as well. You can tell with it's in the clutch. I think it's willow. I can't be certain. I'm not an expert in this. My friend John Farinoff, he does like these worksheets on how to, work with different charcoals, and he'd be able to tell you what's what, so, and why certain charcoals are better than others, but that's from a production point of view. But yeah, he'd be able to tell you what kind of charcoal it is just by using it. But I'm not experienced with this stuff. It makes black marks and it's smudgeable, and that's about as technical as I'm going to get with this stuff. Again, I'm drawing the hair, and or this, it could be anything really. It could be a headscarf, but my eyes are doing the the spoke thing, which is this. So my eyes are doing this to work out if that width there is the right width. Also, the the trajectory, if you like, of the outline. I'll compare the things in terms of the shapes with, say that with that as well, to help me just get a little bit more of a accurate relation between the two. But it's doing this thing with the hair is that it's another probably a relational thing, just like everything else. So the distance from there to there, the distance from the top of the hairline there to the tip of the nose, all of those things are all the same as this. It's just being able to see them as where they are, where they relate to each other. So what I'm doing now is I mean, it seems a bit all over the place, but it's me just getting the size of things in relation. So I'm looking at the tip of a collar there to where a chin is, and it's just all the time. It's I've said this before about the continuous comparison of and relationships. So there's a lot of things that are happening on this which kind of illustrate what I'm saying about the black and white thing. There is, the finish, the application of tone, all those sort of things have their own, their own destiny, their own. So I'm just trying to get that square there. Their own manifestation, if you like. It's not trying to be like a black and white image. It's not trying to be like that in there. And what happens with, you'll see it. You watch somebody drawing from a black and white image. It'll be what they draw is the black and white image. But their lines are, and the way they define, now some people can do it. Some people can actually look at a black and white image, interpret that black and white image in their way, which is fine. And I think a lot of people who do that have gone through a period of continuous practice and learning that may have it may be 10 years, it may be 2 years, but they've gone through a period of practice has enabled them to make copies of black and white images in the style of the black and white image. I've just seen a friend of mine, Jim, I can't remember his surname, but Jim, who's taking images. It's a bit like the soft pastel thing, or the oil pastel things. And I was talking about constructive style. It's a bit like that. Jim he takes colored images, references, and he interprets them in a way which is not unlike a Liechtenstein, but without. I said to him, it's like a Liechtenstein without the dots, and that's basically what he does. So he's interpreted the color, and working like that. It works in color as well, so it's not drawings, black and white drawings, and so he's interpreting the image in this particular way, his style, I suppose, but it's not predetermined. So it's not a constructed style. It's his way of interpreting what he sees. It's still, the image is not telling him how to paint it. This is the thing. It's not telling him do it like this, which is what a black and white charcoal does when you're working on black and white. It's saying this is what it should look like. To a lot of people, that's okay, though. To a lot of people, that's how they work. As I said, there are some people that run courses who will tell you that you need to convert your images to black and white and increase the contrast. And that's how they'll teach. But for me, it just makes things so much more difficult because you're not allowing yourself to interpret the image and respond and interpret the image in your particular way. And now it's going to be different every time. This is the thing. It's not always going to be this dark or the shapes are going to be this fuzzy or whatever. It shouldn't be the same every time for obvious reasons. Different faces will elicit a different response every time. They should do. People are different. This is the thing. Every face you draw is different because you've got not just the persona, but the pose. It's going to be different every time. So why would it be the same process every time with the same outcome? But you're not allowing yourself to that luxury, because that's what that is, to be able to interpret the face in your way and respond in your way. You're not allowing yourself that luxury by saying, oh, this is how it's going to turn out. This black and white image is already defined exactly how I'm going to draw it and how it's going to turn out. So it's just makes things so much more difficult. To be honest, I'm deliberately making it more interpretive than trying to make the tone accurate, representative, and all the rest of it. I want you to see that it doesn't have to be a typical. So I think what I should do is convert this into black and white, and then you'll see what I mean about the way that a black and white image would impede my response. In fact, find this image on I'll show you in a minute when I've sorted this out. Find this image on Instagram and then convert it to black and white. You'll see what I mean. You can do it on your phone. It's not a big thing to. I think you can get Photoshop on your phone. I'm pretty sure you can do it on that. Now, this is another thing about the interpretive response, I suppose, is that not everything on the face is important. This particular element that I'm drawing now isn't important. This is important. That's not important. This is what you focus. This is simply the supporting act. So you don't want to be putting loads. I've just seen a friend of mine do an incredible portrait of somebody, but it was so detailed. It was unbelievable. I don't know how long it took it to do him, but it was still just a face. It could beads and all the rest of it, but it's still just a face. And regardless of the detail that's been put into it, it doesn't make it any better, if you know what I mean. It's a great portrait. It's a great likeness. Well, I'm assuming it is because I don't know what the girl looks like, but this compensation almost for or overwhelming, because this is the other thing about it, is people will put detail everywhere, and sometimes a face is there. Face is that eye. There's a guy this morning about having problems with an eye. He said, he just couldn't get the eye right and all the rest of it. It's silly, But aside from the fact that it's his method that's the problem, he was probably identifying that the eye was an important factor in this image, and he focused on that and failed to get it as accurate as he wanted it to be. And those are sort of problems that people have. But that's the thing, that the face will have certain things that are important and certain things that aren't. So this is a portrait, as opposed to making a copy of a face. But that's the I suppose the route that you choose. I said in one of the early videos is you're going to choose whether or not you're going to be somebody that makes accurate copies of things, and you're going to have to learn the skills and all the rest of it to do that, or you're going to be somebody that makes portraits of souls, as opposed to knitted jerseys. which is what I get a lot of. And it's like, yeah, you've drawn that knitted jumper really well, and all the details on the beads, it's fantastic. But it's just you've just drawn some beads on a jumper. It's the face that matters. If you don't capture the soul in the face, you can forget about putting detail around the garments that she's wearing, because it's irrelevant, isn't it? No matter how well I draw this, if this face doesn't feel right, then what was the point? Again, I can't remember. I think I'm working from black and white, so I'm just trying to copy this image. You know what I mean? So, but that's it. I'm going to leave it at that, because I think I've done enough to explain why the tonal aspect of it is your domain and not the decision of an algorithm, a bit of software that says, oh no, we don't need that tone on that face, we don't need that there, but I might want it there. I might want the eye tone to bleed, or to be a slightly darker. I might emphasize that the darkness of the sockets of our eye. But I've got this limitation of tonal values that have been displayed to me, and I'm also obligated almost to make a black and white image replica, and make it look like this because this is what drew me to drawing them, because that would make a perfect graphite or charcoal drawing, you know. And that's the thing that 9 times out of 10 you move to draw a black and white image because it looks like a black and white drawing already. It's done, you know. It's done already, and you're going to just do it again. But as I said, just try it. Just try working from a color image as opposed to working from a black and white, and notice how different it feels. I think the main thing is that it just makes everything easier. It just makes it all so much easier for people, and that, in a way, that's the goal, I suppose. You want to make it easier. I said earlier, you want to make it easier, not harder, and allow yourself to respond. This the other thing as well. You know, this is your domain. You know what I mean? This is where you're a master of all you master of all you can muster, and you want to be in that place, taking full advantage. Not being told this is how it's going to end up looking, and then failing to do that and getting upset about it and throwing it away, which is to say that what the guy did. So anyway, yeah, like I say, I'm done. Find the image on, this is the image, find the image on Pinterest and convert it to black and white, and notice the difference. Notice what gets lost on it. And if you like, draw it from both, but I wouldn't advise that. I'm not really, as I said before, don't draw the same thing twice. It's one surefire way to kill your development. You develop far quicker when you just learn and move on. Okay.